Well, speaking of music, we have the wonderful sounds of Score and DEFT. So first, Score, how do you feel about the victory?
역시 연승을 이제 저번에 끊겨서 연승 이제 시작을 해야 돼서 못 이기겠다는 생각으로 왔고 역시 연승을 이어가서 기분이 좋아요.
And Score says, we had our winning streak broken recently, so I came here thinking this is the start of a new winning streak. So he's very happy that he got to achieve that.
그게 좋지 않았는데 또 오늘은 안 좋고 그냥 할 만큼 한거 같아서 기분이 좋아요.
And Def says, recently my performance has have been a little bit disappointing, so I'm very happy that I had a, not dying and had a good performance overall. So what was the thought process behind, leaving Rengar open?
일단은 그것도 있고 스맵 선수가 워낙 잘하는 챔프이기 때문에 뭐 그거와 비교해도 잘하는 럼블 선수이기 때문에 그렇게 했습니다.
And the main reason being SMEB is a great player. They had confidence in SMEB, and they just thought he's a good enough Rumble to handle the
저도
Rengar.
사실 그레이브스를 제일 좋아하는데 저도 상관없다 생각합니다.
Now, elaborating on a little bit more on that question, SMEB's Score says, I prefer Graves, but I think it's fine um, in terms of
그래도
leaving Rengar
LTR라고
open.
생각해요. 제 생각은. 일단 옛날에는 좀 딜 멤버로 딜 보충을 많이 해줬다면 요새는 탱 멤버가 대세라서 아무래도 탱킹이 다른 정글러보다 잘 되다 보니까 네, ATR라고 생각해요.
However, he does consider Rengar to be, a top tier pick still. And the reason for that is, unlike previously where Rengar just dishes out a ton of damage, Rengar could still be very serviceable if you, build tank on him and soak up damage. So he still, for that reason, believes Rengar is a very good pick.
저희가 아무래도 상대편이 후반 지향형이다 보니까 저희 좀 초반에 퍼스트 블러드를 획득했을 때 적이 수동적으로 하니까 이 게임 끝났다라고 생각했습니다.
Now, speaking on the first set, Score says the opponent had some good late game scaling. So when I picked up that first blood and knew that the opponents were going to play a little bit more passively, I thought we had the win there.
특성이 이통전사라는 특성이 굉장히 좋더라고요. 오공한테 그래서 그거를 안 되실 걸 보고 좀 그냥 안심했어요.
Now, Def says regarding Kog'Maw, I believe, Kog'Maw taking Stormcaller Surge, Storm Surge, the Keystone Mastery is excellent. So he was actually relieved when he saw Sangyoon's Kog'Maw not elect to go for that mastery.
일단은 상대편이 좀 조급해진 것 같아서 무리하게 걸었다고 생각하고 세영이가 먼저 이제 이기는 타이밍이라고 다들 다 같이 열심히 해서 싸웠습니다.
So Score talking about set one a little bit more, he says, I felt like the ROX Tigers started to get impatient and started to take, overzealous fights, eager fights. And a lot of these fights, while they were happening, the KT team were screaming, oh, we already won this, This is a winning fight as they engage back into ROX Tigers. Even here, as the replay suggests, Score says he actually thought the opponents had a really, accurate, aware pick, but KT managed to fire back on all cylinders and hit all their skill shots, which gave them the teamfight victory there.
저희가 BBQ전은 제가 저번에 인터뷰는 못했지만 저희가 SK전 지고 나서 이제 차차 이제 다시 발전해가는 과정이라서 아무래도 경기력은 부족했을 수 있는데 그 경기만 이기면 다시 경기력 회복할 수 있다는 자신감이 있어서
Now, speaking about recent results, Score says their recent, match against BBQ, although they had a poor performance in that match, it was more of a
저희가 대회를 하는데 분위기가
match that was important for their streak because they had just lost to SKT, and regardless of performance, he thought of that win as very important because you could always improve your performance later on. And Deft also saying similarly that moving forward he plans to improve his performances as well individually. Now we're asking Score what he thinks of this first blood in depth.
제가 어떻게 말하느냐에 따라 지금 많이 갈릴 것 같은데 저는 솔직하게 말을 하면 운이 좋았습니다.
So Score just saying, to be honest, it was lucky. I was lucky.
저는 작은 골렘을 먹으려고 뒀는데 그 맹가가 저렇게
And I believe LS mentioned this on the cast as well. Score says, I was just going there for the Krugs. And turns out Rengar was just standing there. So moving on to the second set, KT secured Ezreal and Lulu in the pick and ban phase. Did he feel any pressure in the laning phase, having to go against Karma and Ashe?
저희 듀오가 더 잘하기 때문에 딱히 아까워.
And Def just kind of says, when you're going against Ashe and Karma, you could really ruin your laning phase, but we're a good duo, and we handled it pretty well.
팀 전체적으로 케어를 해줬으면 좋겠는데 룰루 같은 경우에는 확실하게 저를 좀
Now, speaking on the support picks, he says Karma is a champion that could really care for the team on a whole, whereas Lulu, well, all Lulu cares about is me. So Def says he definitely prefers Lulu. Now Captain Jack saying he's not a big fan of Ezreal because Ezreal does have a growth curve, maybe not the strongest laning phase, but
준비를 했는데 준식이가 이즈리얼을 하는데
asking Def what he thinks.
그냥 버틸만 해 보이더라고요. 이즈리얼 정도 이즈리얼을 했는데 그냥 버텨지길래 하고 있고요.
And Def says, you know, I thought I would have a hard time kind of surviving as well, but I watched Bang play it, and he managed to do it, so I tried it, and I managed to do it too.
확실히 좀 마인전에서 엄청나게 압박만 받지 않는다면은
So speaking more on this importance of the Ezreal pick, rising in importance, I should say,
모든 캐릭터들한테 압박을 좀 그래서 티어가 올라가고 있는
and Def says, I feel like Ezreal's importance is definitely rising, mainly because as long as you don't get pressured too heavily in the laning phase, he could offer a lot in the later stages of the game. So in set 2, they did have some troubles
진짜 아무래도
in the
저희가
bottom lane. When did they feel confident that they were about to turn the game around?
팀판이 있고 바론을 먹었을 때 우리가 완전 역전했구나라고 생각했고 사실 그 전에도 좀 불리했지만 우리가 조합상 살짝 불리할 수도 있는 픽이라서
And Score says,
불리하다고
at the moment where we won the team fight and secured our first Baron, I knew for sure that we turned the game around.
지금 줄 몰랐어요.
And even before that, I thought we had our compositional disadvantage, or we were losing, but we had the compositional advantage, so he was very confident. And Def says, actually, I thought I was winning, so I didn't know we were behind.
사실 레벨에서 올리자마자 이거 돌면은 거의 우리가 이겼다라고 생각하고 방금 마켓이 일어났으면 잘못했거든요. 제가 알고 있지 않아요.
So asking Def what he thought about that team fight, and Def kind of shied away from the question, saying, I don't really remember. But Score definitely happy with his Gragas performance, saying that as soon as I saw the rise, I knew that I could go on him and it would lead to a great, result. And also saying that that was a really good execution with Gragas. And throughout the rest of the match, all the KT players just stayed motivated and encouraged each other to
DEFT도
play hard.
공간이 사용하면서 LCK를 잡아낸 모습이었는데
네네.
거기서 그 반응 속도 그거 정말 생각하고 같이 하신 거죠? 뭐였나요?
Now Deft making a
그냥
arcane shift forward there to catch out the Ashe.
저번에 DBQ전에서 제가 1차 타워 앞에서 맞고 죽었거든요.
So the question is, did you really expect, to handle that situation really well? Were you confident in your reaction speeds, your mechanics? And Def says, there was a moment in the BBQ match where I just kind of got hit and died in front of the towers, and it was more of motivation from that, trying to make up for that.
저희가 이제 엑스크전 이후로 경기력이 살짝 안 좋다 이런
So moving
평들이
forward, message to the
있었는데
fans.
오늘 기점으로 해서 계속해서 다시 좋은 경기력을 보여드릴 테니까 앞으로도 많은 기대 부탁드립니다.
And Score says, following the SKT result, a lot of people have been saying that our performance has dropped a little bit. With today's solid win, he plans to improve and pick up a lot more wins moving forward.
잘 준비해서 다시 제이랑 샤코 더 잘해줘서 스크도 볼 수 있도록 열심히.
And Duff says, I also feel like our form dipped a little following the SKT match, but we're going to do well and make sure we see SKT again. So that's it, short and sweet for the interview as well.